I'm going to read about silence in my book here. Great and positive influences on me. I'm thanking people and things. One of them, the first one, is silence. I'm going to show it to you. The very first one. So here's the great and positive influences on me. And the very first one is silence. I am appreciative of silence for giving me the opportunity to remain in peace and to think clearly. It enabled me to systematically, logically, and precisely dissect thoughts, ideas, emotions, and sensations to their elemental truths, and to identify their cause and effect. This method of insight leads to the discovery and identification of truths, falsehoods, misunderstandings, misinterpretations, and finally, an opportunity to uncover or discover truths that remain hidden from a biased mind. See, a biased mind is filled with all kinds of biases. Could be one bias that's enough to skew or alter their perspective. In one of the last books I will be writing, I will explain in detail this method. But first I must share, for the betterment of the starved people around the world, the fruits of knowledge they have been hungering for. A mind might be biased due to greed, lust, hunger, intellectual prowess, strength, beauty, wealth, hurt, nationality, race, gender, and infinite other qualities. Often when I go to a religious order, I've been to many religious places, including some scientific circles. I've talked to some people in a governmental, like a school kind of teacher, like council members and also police and teachers. So, and these all share one thing, which is mostly they are fixated. They are bound, they are self-bound to go about their duties in a very limited perspective, not open-minded to see what is around them, just doing what they do, So new knowledge, they are usually not into new knowledge. So so if you go to a certain religious place and you say to them, hey, we have this knowledge, what they usually say is, the response is normally, oh, no, we already have everything that we need. I'm talking any religion has this. It's the people's way of thinking that is the ignorance in their thinking that is stopping them from reaching out and learning. That's why when it says in one of these religions, is seek the truth. Those who seek, we shall find it. Yeah, many people do not seek, and therefore they will not find it. They barred themselves off from knowledge. I employed silence and honesty, along with precise, systematic, logical thinking, to understand God, to the understanding of God, and related truths from the age of 6 years and 11 months. So I thanked silence. Then I went on to thank my mother. Min Dochter Sharifi. My mother was instrumental in providing that silence, that place of safety, peace. You know, she created that. Even though I was alone, and it was, I don't wish that on anybody as far as a child is concerned. Children being alone is not a good idea generally. But I had peace, quiet. This enables you to think. And how can you distinguish truth from falsehood if you cannot think? So many people and so many sciences and also religious orders, they're in they don't have silence. How can they genuinely learn something, genuinely think, be alive and conscious without silence? Silence is like a empty tabletop, where you can determine how you're going to set your table, where the dishes are going to be set. If you have a table full of stuff and you try to arrange them, it's not that great. You won't do a good job. But when it's clear, then you're able to set up a good table. Another good example is, a better example is, let's say you have some pots, dishes to wash and dishes to cook with. So let's say these pots have not been washed from the last meal, so they're dirty, right? And you start cooking with these dishes a new type of meal. Well, sorry to say, but you're contaminating the new dish because you simply have not cleared or washed the pan. Cleared and washed means applied silence to it by taking everything away and letting it be itself. Clean, metallic pot. Take everything out. Wash it. Let it be clean. No, you left the dirtiness in there, and then you make a new meal with it. That's what people are doing with their mentality and emotions. The whole being, when they're trying to study something spiritual, and they don't have silence to do it in. They don't apply silence to it. So they get contaminations of all sorts of ideas, contaminated ideas. They can't think clearly. There's no clarity. It's like a dirty dish. You will make a meal all right, but the meal will be contaminated. And then what? When you eat the meal, you get sick in some sort of way, and you wonder why. So when a person is in a spiritual order and they are not using silence as a method of clarity of mind, and they are the mind busy with all sorts of contaminated stuff, and then they go into trying to learn whatever they want to try to learn in about spirituality, and then what they learn, they will learn all right, but it will be contaminated. They will get sick all right. They will not be happy totally. They'll have all kinds of troubles, and they wonder why. It's a very simple thing. It's not only a common sense thing, it's a spiritual thing. Are you gonna wash that dish before you put some liquid in it to drink or eat? Are you gonna wash your mind before you go ahead and input data and take in data, as in eat, take in data? When you eat food, pure good food, you can digest it. Many people get food poisoning. They can't digest it. The body rejects it. They throw it up. Food poisoning is extremely dangerous. Same thing with ideas. Ideas that poison the mind because you have not applied clarity to cleanse your mind before taking in the data. You cannot digest the information. You will just be inputting information, not having the clarity of mind. You cannot digest it because you do not have the mental capacity to clearly understand it, to understand how this knowledge fits in with reality, and to genuinely question it so that you really come up with answers that make sense in a real manner, in reality, practically. So I've mentioned this a few times to some people. Let's say there's a dot. There's a dot. Now it's clear and evident that there's a dot here, meaning this is the goal. So in many spiritual places they mention the goal. They're quite clear on that many times. This is the goal. Right? Now upon trying to get to the goal, many of them go whoop, 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 and they go back. They go whoop, go back, whoop, go back, whoop. They keep missing the point. They get caught up in the religiosity. Because they have not thoroughly understood the information. Thoroughly. And so they keep missing the point. And once you've missed the point of a communication, of a spiritual book, oh well, look, it's pointless. You need to focus on the reason why a communication takes place. What is the main point? What is it trying to say? And okay, if you understand it, good. Now, how does it say to go about reaching that point? So it makes sense to you, but not in the sense that. You see, what happens is that in many religious places they have a set way of thinking, like a logical step way of thinking, and they do not diverge from that to other ways of thinking. They do not branch out to other ways of thinking. They do not do that. They do not allow themselves to think another way. So therefore, they have not really thoroughly understood this. They're just thinking, this is the way, and this is not thoroughly understanding it. Thoroughly understanding it means you're able to think of all kinds of thoughts in regards to this question, all kinds of genuine questions that come up. You can ask genuinely, and you can genuinely research it and have answers for it that is practical. So in many religious places that are an institution, they get stuck in set ways of answers to specific questions. Set. And so it's not flexible enough, broad enough. It is not broad enough to answer adequately all the questions that are posed, that are asked. That's the nature of an institution. The institution is made to give the basics of something, of a knowledge. Many institutions are like this. The good ones, the good institutions, that they have brilliant teachers in there who thoroughly know their stuff, or to a large degree know their stuff. And they know the material, and they can explore the various questions so they're thoroughly, or to a very large degree, answered practically, so the student can really understand it, how to apply it. They learn to understand how to apply it in their actual life. It's very much like a doctor. When you go to a doctor, he may give you a prescription on how to do something. You may not know exactly how to do it. You say, oh, well, it's kind of clear, but not. What about in this case? What about in that case? So the doctor is there to help you with all these specific questions. That's why a spiritual teacher is extremely helpful. Otherwise, the student is left to their own imagination and follow, or left to an organization with a very limited set perspective, which is not broad enough to answer the questions of the students practically, genuinely, thoroughly, broadly, so the person can really understand it. So in many religious institutions, you find people who were spiritually hungry still are very disappointed after many years of being in there, because even though they got a lot of knowledge, it's some of the things are not panning out. Some of the things are not being manifest. They're wondering why, and they get answers, predetermined or predetermined answers that are repeated to them. So, and they think, and it's up to them to take that as that's how it is, that's the reality, or not, And now, anybody who's sincere, who learns about truth, knows that that's not good enough, and goes into searching. And there's no way they're gonna search without silence. You need time to study in silence. That's why silence is so important.